March issue of Newsbrief has, I think, a number of articles that I find particularly interesting. The first one looks at Saudi Arabia's economy and puts a counterintuitive point that despite the low oil prices, the Saudi economy can perform rather well, and the Saudi government has many other opportunities in terms of revenues in order to balance its books. I also found particularly interesting a number of articles that look at the deeper military developments taking place in Russia. First one by my colleague Igor Sutyagin, which looks at the deployment of Russian troops in Europe, and another one by a colleague from Armenia, which looks at the deployment of Russian forces in the Caucasus, yet again an area which perhaps is not in the headlines on a daily basis.
This issue of Newsbrief also contains two articles that look at recent developments in South America. In Argentina, we examine how the recent election of Mauricio Macri has affected the country's foreign policy. Since becoming president in December, Macri has removed currency controls, he has reached an agreement with the international creditors in New York, potentially paving the way for Argentina to return to international borrowing markets, and he has tried to reset the relationship with the US, the UK, and the EU. Secondly, in Colombia, the peace process between the FARC and the government was due to conclude with a peace agreement on the 23rd of March. Now, both parties admit that it will be impossible to meet this deadline, yet a peace agreement is still just around the corner. The author looks at how Colombia has overcome the security challenges it has faced and what challenges still remain. Interestingly, he compares these challenges with the challenges faced in the Philippines, where exactly 2 years ago, a peace agreement was concluded with the comprehensive agreement of the Mindanao. The author, who has conducted track 2 diplomacy in both Colombia and the Philippines, argues that both peace processes have learnt from each other, and yet, crucially, they have also adapted to local circumstances.